My name is Bryant, and as you can see, I'm not your average American Christian. I've got a story, and I would absolutely love to share it with you right now. It starts September 24th, 1990. A young man was born by the name of Bryant Camp. I'm going to skip ahead now to his 4th grade year when his mother decided that she was going to homeschool him. So she takes him out of school, and I really didn't think anything about it. It's just I get to sleep in a little bit longer, and I get done with school a little bit earlier. And I've got the same teacher for every class. But my mom, she had a reason for doing that, even though at the time I didn't see it. Her reason for pulling me out of public schools, up until 9th grade at least, was so that she could give me a very strong, firm Bible foundation. And she layered that foundation with levels and levels and levels of cement. And by the time I was 9th grade, I felt like I could ace any seminary college within the state. And I showed up to TCPS my 9th grade year, and things went, well, they went great. I had a blast up until one day I found out that my dad, who was my idol, the man that I wanted to be like, had several addictions, severe addictions. Like, think of something really bad that a guy would do and then double it because he probably did worse. And so when all this came to light, especially, publicly, it was kind of humiliating. And I felt in a way that I had to do things to kind of rebel so that my friends would see it more. It's just something that we all go through. I don't want to be pitied. And so when my 10th grade year started, all my friends were driving cars, but I was not, because I'm so smart that I don't need the permit book that they give you to pass the permit test. I already knew it. And after I failed several times the permit test, I decided that I'd take it correctly. But by then I was already 16, and my friends were already driving by themselves, and so it was really embarrassing. So one night, it's just all this stuff compiled, and I had to release it. I couldn't lash out at my parents because I knew I'd get beat. I couldn't, go party or drink because, I played sports and that was my life. And so, I really didn't have any other outlet other than just blatant rebellion. And so when my parents went to sleep one night, I took my mom's keys to her navigator and I took it for a joyride. And I went back to TCPS the next day and I told everybody that I snuck out of the house and went joyriding. Now when they asked how far I went, and my reply is, to the end of the street and back, then I lose a little bit of my credibility when they realize that my sneaking out consisted of 2.5 miles worth of driving. Probably would not have even been able to see it on the mileage marker in the navigator. And so all my friends were kind of messing with me about it, but I really wanted to impress a bunch of people, even though I didn't have to. And so at 16 years old, I decided that I was going to sneak out of the house and drive 20 minutes to South Hill to my girlfriend's house so that she could take pictures and prove to everybody in our grade that I, in fact, was man enough to sneak out. That phrase, man enough, I've come to learn, is it really just means dumb enough to do something. I just started thinking, anyway. So I sneak out of the house and I go all the way to my girlfriend's house. We're taking pictures, posing, and I'm sending to my friends like, I told you. And then one of my friends actually sent me back, said that he was going to call my mom and tell her that he left something in her van. But I digress. Later on that night, this became a pattern in my life, and I started sneaking out, just for fun, and didn't do anything that I wasn't supposed to really. When I would sneak out, I wasn't drinking or partying. It was just the simple act of knowing that I was doing something that my parents did not want me to do. And on my way home one night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I was driving 95 miles an hour, and I passed a sign that said 45 miles an hour. Well, I didn't slow me down one bit. I flew past it going 95. That was my first problem. My second problem came in the form of the car that was passing me, that cut blue lights on as it passed me. When I realized that I was in a cop chase, problem number 3, probably the most severe problem of all, is that my immediate reaction wasn't to pull over, it was to floor it. And so my foot went not to the brake but to the gas, and it was literally pedal to the metal. And the chase lasted, I don't know, maybe 4.5, 5 minutes. It ended up, I had a couple of cop cars behind me and one coming down the street, and I cut to the left to go down this really small neighborhood that, hoping that they would back off, and I was like, maybe I could just park into a drive away, let them go, and then go on my way home. But as I'm planning this out in my head, it didn't really roll out like I had planned. The road kind of veered off, made a curve to the left, and then just kind of made a little slant to the right. And I thought it just kept going straight. So I just kept going straight, and I hit a sign, and I drove off of an embankment, and I hit this big oak tree. I split between two oak trees and hit one big oak tree head on, going about 120 miles an hour is what the speedometer was set on. So fast enough for the car to explode, and fast enough for me to die. But neither of the two happened, actually. I was unconscious for several minutes. When I was conscious, I realized that my leg was inside the engine, and my legs were the skin was literally being burnt and melted off of them because of the fluids that were pouring out. It was so hot. And after the cops tried to pull me out through what was left of the sunroof for 5 minutes or so, something in the engine sparked, and the whole navigator went up in flames. And I knew at that point, I thought I was dead. I was just ready to go. I was like, I've made too many dumb decisions at 16. God's wiped his hands of me. He's sick of me. This is it. I'm dying, and I'm going to hell, and this is how I'm going to be remembered. And so I laid there in that burning navigator in pain that I can't even begin to explain. My legs were burnt beyond 4th degree, meaning the bones were fried. And but I ended up, I was like, God, if you still love me, and if you've got a purpose for my life, then please get me out of this. And I grabbed the sunroof, and I started pulling, and it just felt like something just wrapped its arms around my legs and just boosted me out of the navigator. And I rolled off the top, and the police officers patted me down and blew them away. They thought I was dead. They were over there calling time of death. And I'm completely coherent at the time. I told them what my name was, who my parents were. Specifically told them to call my dad and not my mom, because my mom would probably finish off what the fire did. And so by the time I got to the hospital, I'd kind of come to grips with reality. And several weeks after that, they ended up having to amputate, and but it was okay. I just woke. It was one of those things where it was like I understood the severity of the situation that I was in, but then at the same time, I was confident in the fact that God saved me for a purpose. So whatever that purpose is, I either don't need normal legs for it, or who knows, He might choose to give them back to me sometime later. Either way, I'm leaving the details up to Him. I'm just honored and blessed to be able to be talking with y'all right now. So, I hope I hope what I've said has touched you, and I hope y'all go on and have a blessed day. And Uncle Eric, stay golden.